Fermentation can do some pretty funny things to grapes, and as a result of fermentation, some really unusual flavors can come out. If you've ever read any wine magazines, you'll hear some terms that can sound really pretty scary and maybe something you don't want in your wine. But I'm going to dispel some of those for you and explain what they actually mean. You won't necessarily find these flavors in Cooper's Hawk wines. Some of them you will, but they're not as scary as they seem. The first one is leather. And really, is there anything sexier than the smell of a new leather jacket or new leather car seats? And leather is really a common thing to find in your wine. Why? Because red wine in particular has tannins, and tannins are what's used to tan leather. So that's why sometimes your glass of Cabernet smells like your new couch. Petrol is a term that many people find to be really off-putting. It's surprisingly very common in Riesling. As a result of fermentation, the Riesling grape can kind of give you these aromas that are a little bit like diesel or petrol, this kind of oily smell. It's actually, in my mind, quite pleasant. For other people, it's a little bit like eating peaches while getting your oil changed. I love the descriptor cigar box. It's really evocative, and for some people, when they hear about tobacco and wine, their mind goes right to an ashtray or cigarettes. Think about it instead as that really sweet smell of pipe tobacco, or even better, the smell of a cigar box, where you get that cedar and that really sweet leafy smell that comes from sweet pipe tobacco. All right, blood. That one sounds really scary to a lot of people, but it's not actually that scary. In some cases, you'll find writers using the term sanguine to describe blood as opposed to just straight up using the word blood. But it's actually this sort of iron-like taste. It's almost like if you put a copper penny in your mouth. In other cases, that sort of blood aroma comes across more as like bacon or grilled meat. In other cases, it's that pure metallic tang of blood. Pencil shavings is a descriptor that you often hear associated with Bordeaux in particular. And if you're of a certain age, you know exactly what that smell is. If you ever had to empty a pencil sharpener, it's that aroma of a little bit of graphite and wood shavings. And again, this is not an unpleasant smell, and it is something that you'll find in wines like Bordeaux. Barnyard's a good one. That's pretty evocative. I think we all know what a barnyard smells like. This smell actually often comes from different sorts of things. You find this a lot more in the old world, but it is this kind of rustic, funky smell that is a little bit evocative of standing behind a horse. Some people love it, some people hate it. You are really unlikely to find any barnyard aromas in Cooper's Hawk wines. Now, sweaty saddle is a degree scarier than barnyard. Sweaty saddle is when you have this compound called Brettanomyces, this bacteria that really, it lives in wineries and particularly in wine barrels, and it'll infect the wine in small amounts with a little bit of that barnyard, which can be pleasant, but in large amounts it takes on this aroma of sweaty saddle. It's really gross. Beer lovers, on the other hand, really love it. If you like Belgian ales, they intentionally use Brettanomyces in those beers. Have you ever had a wine that smelled a little bit like the way your musty basement smells? If you smell that, that's a bad sign. That's that kind of wet cardboard smell that is indicative of a wine being corked. This is a chemical compound called TCA, or trichloroanisole, that actually infects corks, and it's something you definitely don't want in your wine. So if you've got a musty, smelly wine, try another bottle, because you may have a corked one in your hand. So all of those aromas are things that are not actually added to the wine. Believe me, we're not adding leather or tobacco or blood or sweaty saddle to a wine. And in fact, a lot of those aromas are things you probably won't find in a Cooper's Hawk wine. So don't be so scared of those descriptors. Some of them have some pretty interesting stories behind them. Happy Halloween.